We will get going with our yoga. Let's make sure that we are comfortable in our space, in our room. If there's any distractions going on, now's the time to just ensure that that's taken care of. We're either going to accept the noises that we hear, the smells that we smell, the temperature of the room, or we can grab that sweater, turn off the radio, close the window, whatever we need to do to really optimize our mindfulness experience. That being said, if you're not already down on the floor, go ahead and find yourself in Shavasana. Shavasana, loosely translated as corpse pose, trying to find a position with hips open, shoulders relaxed, palms facing up towards the ceiling, and body completely surrendering to the mat beneath us. As we find ourselves relaxing into the floor, go ahead and just notice if we're tilting through the head. We want our nose pointing straight up to the ceiling. Same with the arms. Maybe one arm feels like it's reaching a little bit longer than the other. Same with the legs. Let's become more aware of if there's any tilting across pelvis or collars. Not that we need to fixate or fix any of these alignment issues, but becoming aware of them, taking notice, and now bringing our full attention into our breath. I want you to just start noticing your inhale and noticing the exhale. Not focusing too much on the speed or wanting to control how slow or fast our breathing is, but rather find a comfortable breath, allowing the rib cage, the chest to fill and expand on the inhale, and then notice the body just sinking a little bit lower on our exhale. We'll do this a few times. Realizing that we carry our breath with us, and whenever we're noticing the mind wandering or feelings overwhelming us, we can control our anxiety, we can control our stress, we can control our thinking by simply taking a few intentional deep breaths. We're practicing this tool now. And with our next inhale, go ahead and reach those arms long up over that head. Big reach. Filling the rib cage, letting everything expand. And now we'll just release those arms and take our time as we gather our knees into our chest, holding either the shins or behind the knees on the thighs as we gently rock right to left. Massaging our lower back, kneading out any knots. And just while we're holding our knees to chest, we'll also roll the ankles, encouraging good blood flow and circulation down through the feet. Bringing the feet down to the ground. We'll line the heels up with the width of our hips, keeping our knees pointing straight to the sky with our arms pressing down on either side of the body into the floor. Go ahead and take a shoulder roll into the mat. Activate the abdominal muscles for glute bridges. Let's inhale, lift the hips up to the ceiling, and exhale, slowly lower. What we're doing right now is stretching through the front of the thighs into those hip flexors. Squeezing and lifting the hips up and slowly lowering down. We're also articulating through the back on your own time, just doing a couple of more. These wonderful glute activation exercises, so important to stabilize our hips, working on some core. And we'll do one more for good measure. Squeezing through the glutes, stretching through those hips. and lowering down. Very nice. Taking our time, rolling over onto our sides. We'll pick ourselves up and work our way into tabletop position. Now notice your wrists. If we have any sensitivities, rather than placing hands directly beneath shoulders on flat palms, you can always take fists for wrists instead, maintaining neutral straight alignment. Just noticing what we need to do today. Same with our knees in the back, if we can keep them right under our hips. If anyone ever experiences sensitivities, feel free to roll up another yoga mat or a towel under that. Finding cats and cows. Let's inhale, open the chest and look forward, stretching through the front of the body. And then exhale, draw the tailbone, belly buttons up, tuck the chin. Again, just working at your own pace here today. Exploring, discovering, noticing anything along the way. Really trying to lift long through the neck and then round the backs up. We'll do one more of each. Working out any stiffness, discovering some range perhaps, and pressing back into child's pose when you're finished with your cats and cows. Sinking the hips nice and low into the heels, as low as they'll go today, taking mind of knees and hips, back discomfort. Same with the arms, if we can extend them forward to help encourage the stretch through the back. If we can rest the head, being mindful of what feels good for you today and realizing in yoga there is no expectation. We are not competing with one another or even ourselves. We are listening to our body and breathing into each exercise. From here, I'll ask that we come forward through tabletop. Shift the weight forward into a kneeling plank, stabilizing across shoulders. And from our plank, I'll ask us to slowly control our chaturanga all the way down to the mat. Nice slow control here. Squeezing the shoulder blades, and then cobra. We activate our abdominal muscles and length through that neck. Slowly release the head and press back through child's pose. Take our time, a lot of tricep activation there. We'll do that just one more time. Inhaling through tabletop. Shifting weight forward of fingers into kneeling plank. Nice flat back as we lower the body with control to the mat. And then scoop up. I'm just doing a baby cobra right now. Just lifting off the ribs. And then pressing back into child's pose when you're able to. Notice how that flow felt today. Coming forward to tabletop where we'll stop. Taking runner's lunge. This is a kneeling lunge. Helping your right foot get up between your hands. We want the knee stacked right above the ankle. Lifting ourselves up onto the thigh. If our balance is okay. If we'd prefer to keep our hands down, finding that stretch instead. The purpose is going to be to lengthen this back left hip, really long, zipping up through collars. And whenever you're able to do so, let's reach those arms up above the head. I'll encourage us today with our arms held high to stretch our tricep. So what I have is my left elbow is bent, lengthening through my tricep as my left hip is opening up. And I'm just gently guiding that elbow to stay next to my ear with my right hand, leaving the chin off the chest, always wearing that crown proudly on the head. Oh, it feels so wonderful, opening up the left side of our body, trying to encourage that slow, deep breath. One more big inhale. Exhale, release the arms. Take our time as we come back through tabletop into child's pose. I don't know about you, but I feel a lot on that left side. I'm going to take a couple of big breaths and really relish in this newfound sensation on that left side. Preparing to repeat that now. We climb up into table, helping that left foot get through between the hands. We really want to work on base. So we find a good position with the foot flat on the ground, ankle beneath the knee, straight in front of our hip, deciding if we're going to keep our hands on the ground or if we're able to lift up. Then we focus on our core stability, tall through the body, shoulders down, long through the neck, arms find their position up above head if we're able to. And then if we're opting to incorporate that tricep stretch, we can take that right elbow, bend it to encourage the lengthening from that right tricep as we really stretch through the front of our right hip. And as I mentioned before, let's just be mindful of chin off of chest, working on tall posture, wearing that crown proudly. Slow, deep breaths. One more inhale. Releasing those arms, and take our time as we come all the way down through child's pose, just sitting back down into the hips. Now noticing maybe a little bit more evenness across right or left, or perhaps we've discovered something else going on through the hips or the back or the shoulders today. From here, we're going to repeat runner's lunge, coming up through tabletop, sweeping the right leg up between the hands. Again, you can help it if you need to really establish strong base of support. This time we're going to leave the left hand beside that right foot and try, if we're able to lift that right arm up to the sky. This is our twisted lunge, looking opposite over that front knee. If the arm above head can be right up to the sky, that's amazing. Otherwise, we can always take it into our back pocket. I want that right knee to stay above the ankle, the big toe to stay on the floor, really pressing out of that left hand, lifting tall. Notice where we're feeling this. Is it through the outside of the right hip or more into the left hip? Lots of different places. We take one more big inhale here, and then we exhale, release the arm. Slowly take our time, and we press back again into child's pose, working through this flow of our runner's lunge. Noticing what we're feeling, maybe coming lower every time we enter child's pose. And inhale up into tabletop. This will be our final lunge in this sequence. Lifting that left foot into place, knee above ankle. And this time the right hand stays directly beside the foot. Again, if anyone has discomfort in the wrist, you can always take a fist for wrist alignment position. When you're able, that left arm lifts high or finds back pocket. Really exaggerate the opening across the collar. Be mindful of knee above ankle. Noticing anything we're experiencing in terms of sensation across hips or even through shoulders. Taking one more nice big inhale. And exhale, release the hand. Take our time as we sweep back, finding child's pose. Couple deep breaths as we check in with ourselves. Let's walk our hands over to the right edge of our mat, placing the left hand on top, and then we pull down that left side of body, stretching through perhaps the left shoulder, the rib cage, maybe even into the hip. We'll walk our hands over to the left side, placing that right hand on top, pressing back into the right shoulder. Working our way through the middle. Now we'll ask that we come into down dog, curling the toes, lifting the hips. All right, as we're holding down dog, I want us to be very mindful of our hands. Spread the fingers, looking back at the feet. Let's see if we're able to drop those heels down nice and close to the floor. For some of us, we may still have like a grapefruit between heel and mat, if you could imagine that. Some of us, it's a piece of paper. Just noticing and maybe checking what you think could fit under your heel. What is that level of tightness up the back of your heel into your ankle and calf today? And we can even pedal the feet, encouraging blood flow, stretching those calves out as we walk the dog right to left. And let's continue that walk now, slowly bringing the feet up between the hands. We'll come up halfway to monkey. Nice flat back as we press the hands into the shins or the thighs. Pull those shoulder blades together in the back. Pull the belly buttons up nice and tight. Little posture check. Perhaps feeling a stretch up the back of the legs. Slowly softening the knees. Let's inhale, sweep those arms up high. And coming into chair, our first squat, we sit down through the hips, back through the heels, bellies in, shoulders back, reaching those arms forward up towards the ceiling. Or if we prefer, we can always take heart center. Little heat building as we engage our thigh muscles. And we'll take one big inhale, sweep ourselves all the way tall. And exhale, release. Establishing Tadasana at the very top of our mat. Tadasana is our mountain pose. Remember, we want feet about hips width distance apart, noticing all 10 toes, the inner and outer edges of the heels. Shoulders are down as we really think about growing tall. Notice our breathing, our heart rate, our focus, and then preparing for a lateral extension. Face the front as we do this. We'll bring our arms all the way up over our head, right up into prayer, and then just reaching that left arm down as we shift our weight over into that right hip. See how my weight just shifted right? Encouraging the lengthening up that right side of body. Still lots of space between ear and shoulder. Inhale, left arm up when you're able to. And exhale that right arm down and lift that left arm just up a little bit higher. Always thinking about the lengthening. Inhale, lift up. And exhale, we're going to sweep up again. Big inhale, lift the arms. And then I want us to just open them out a little bit, like you're looking up at the sun. You're holding your arms above your head. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. Expand through the chest. Engage the bellies. Maybe a little bit softness through the knees as we perhaps add a little upper back bend, looking higher to the sky. Open those chests. Open the shoulders. Nice wide arms. And then take a big inhale. Lift those arms back up. And exhale, release. Oh, amazing. From here, I'll ask that we realign our Tadasana pose right at the top of our mat, preparing for warrior one. We'll bring that left foot behind us, pressing the heel down into the ground, bending forward into right knee. If we had tape going from hip bone to hip bone across pelvis and collar to collar across the shoulders, I want those pieces of tape to be parallel to the floor. Same with if we went from pubic bone up through nose. Would that piece of tape be straight or would there be S curves along the way? Let's really imagine that alignment today. Ooh, as we find our focus and balance through the feet, reaching our arms up into place if we're able to. Nice big stretch through the shoulders. Of course, heart center is always a place we can substitute the arms. Closing our eyes if that's an option. Let's focus on our breathing. Now, while we maintain our feet, let's release our arms. Hold them together in the back. If you're able to interlace your fingers, we're going to keep them interlaced. If that's not comfortable, if you stay, just imagine bringing the arms closer around a bit of a, like maybe a basketball or a soccer ball size if you could. Otherwise, binding them and then rolling the shoulders down, trying to straighten the arms out and looking up to the ceiling as we take these final couple of breaths in warrior one. Noticing the chest expansion, opening up those sore muscles from sitting over a desk. And we take one more big inhale. Exhale, release the arms, soften the knees, and step together. Go ahead and fidget the feet if that helps. I know that was a big calf stretch for my back left leg. Reestablishing Tadasana, and we'll do this again now with the right foot stepping back. Bringing that right leg directly behind us, noticing if we'd prefer a broader base of support, a narrower stance, or in a more open stance. Thinking about those pieces of tape, so right across hips, right across shoulders, And then notice as we draw the arms up, if we think that piece of tape running up the center of our body is straight or twisted. Squeeze the shoulders together, maybe look up a little bit, opening up our chest, exposing that heart center, encouraging all of the feelings. What are we feeling? How is our balance? Releasing our arms. One more time through that bound chest stretch, whether the fingers are interlaced or maintaining a distance. Let's roll the shoulders down. Notice if we're able to straighten the arms. And as we look up to the ceiling, perhaps this time we're able to lift the arms off of the back, maybe up towards the sky just a little bit. I don't want too much pressure. Notice how that feels. Shoulders stay down, neck stay long. Keeping the abdominal muscles engaged. One more big inhale. And exhale, release. Take our time stepping together, fidgeting out, if that's helpful. Now, from here, if anyone needs to take a drink of water or change layers of clothing, please, I encourage you to do so. What I'd like you to do when you're ready is turn yourself to the long edge of your mat, because we're going to be doing a standing forward fold and straddle split. Stepping to that long edge, I like it with the toes facing directly to the long edge, meaning that they're now running parallel. But if your hips require you to turn them in slightly, an internal rotation or external, just be mindful of what that feels like and if that's helping, or if you just never paid attention to it before. Softness through the legs, big inhale, lifting the arms up, and then sending the tailbone back, we exhale, reach forward. Now, as soon as we notice any sort of stretch response, we're just going to relax the hands, whether they're staying on the hips, the thighs, the shins. And then as we breathe into the stretch, we can release the hands down a little bit lower. If anyone needs more today, I encourage you to walk the hands farther away from you, beyond the mat likely, and then use your arms just like you do in child's pose and down dog to push away from the floor, sending the hips in the opposite direction. So as the hands drive forward, we're pressing the hips back, and this is going to really activate those hamstrings. Let's take a couple big breaths here. Whether you're taking a passive approach or like I'm doing an active approach, I want us just to enjoy this. Notice all four corners of the feet still firmly pressing into the mat. And from here, we'll slowly soften those knees, walking our hands all the way up the body. Take as much time as you need. We can shake those legs out and reestablish Tadasana, that mountain pose. Now, as we're standing tall here, I will ask that we try, if that's a possibility, to close our eyes. We're standing tall on 2 feet, lifting up out of the arches. We're stable across hips, level across shoulders, tall through crown of head. Taking a moment just to check in with how our body feels, perhaps a slight elevation in heart rate. Finding that composure, our control over our breathing. Amazing. Fluttering those eyes open if we're comfortable with doing so. Preparing for single balance. We're going to do a couple of different balances today. Now, for balance sake, if it's something that's frustrating, please stand next to a wall, a table, a chair, whatever, as long as it's not a rolling chair, something of support if that's going to help you. While we're starting with figure 4, we'll have to take that right foot off the ground. Cross the foot over the left knee. See how my foot is actually above my kneecap and the heel is on the outside of the thigh. So we don't want the foot exactly on the knee. We always try to avoid pressing that onto a joint. And now when you're ready, after we've drawn that number 4, just reach the arms forward and then slowly start to sit all the way down into that single leg squat. I like to draw my hands in the figure 4 with heart center. but you can keep your arms out. Notice your balance. And again, think about those lines of tape across hips and shoulders and through center of body. Would they be very twisted or tilted right now, or are they still running parallel and perpendicular? And I should have said this earlier, but if anyone would rather sit down, either in a chair or on the floor to do this, absolutely try that. And we'll do this again immediately on the next leg, so you have the opportunity to try both sides. We'll take ourselves up and release, fidgeting out. That's a lot of tension, and just reestablish Tadasana. If you need to switch sides of where you're standing so you can hold on to that table, desk, or chair, please feel free to do so. As we lift now the left foot or the other foot, crossing it above and over that right thigh. Turn the leg out, and then when you're ready, we'll reach the arms high and sit low. Now, depending on your tightness, you may feel this left hip droop. So just bring that hip up and then sit down, maintaining those long lines. Arms can be wherever they need to be in order to help you. That's that component of not having judgment right now. We're not overanalyzing or judging ourselves for doing something in a way we didn't want to or didn't think is right. Mindfulness is about being present in the moment right now, experiencing our balance, experiencing this stretch without that notion of ego or competition. Very nice. And slowly lifting out of that. Again, I encourage fidgeting, blood flow circulation, as we prepare for our next and final standing posture, which will be our eagle pose. Crossing the right foot over like you're about to sit down proper. We are going to find that single leg squat. Now with your eagle, see how my knee's right on top of me? You could put those toes of your right foot on the floor. It's a really nice way to offer a kickstand for balance. So with your foot down or elevated, if it's elevated, you can try to wrap it around. See my little toes on the side? Just remember that line of tape, keeping it forward, keeping it straight and level. Arms now, we bring with our right leg crossed over front. We're going to bring our right arm over top of our left arm into a nice big hug. Good, give yourself a squeeze. And maybe this is where you want to stay as we sit a little bit lower. Otherwise, keeping elbow on top of elbow, perhaps you bring back of hand or even palms of hand together, in which case we can lift the arms up, stretching through those shoulders. Staying low in our squat, squeezing those legs, squeezing those arms, creating tension. Working through some kinks in the hips and shoulders, opening up the back of the body. Take one big inhale, lift up. Oh, and work that out. Feeling a lot of increased intensity or sensation through the legs, hips and shoulders. That's a lot of blood flow being brought into those trouble areas. Let's take a moment, a couple big breaths. And doing that now, lifting the left leg, crossing the knee over. And then as we sit down, we try to squeeze. See how I'm just trying to squeeze the thigh, which either will draw your foot down to the floor for balance or around your leg for a little bit of extra tension. Arms are coming up. With the left knee across, we'll bring the left arm over top of the right arm into a nice big hug. Think about the tape across hips and shoulders, up through the middle. Let's keep that level. And then if you're able to, elbow on top of elbow, palm to palm, and lift those arms up. Sitting lower in the squat if we can. And we're going to squeeze those thighs, squeeze the arms. Feeling that heat building. Good, good, good. Keep your body facing forward. A little bit lower. And inhale, release. Fidget, fidget, fidget. So well done, everybody. Let's bring ourselves into our Tadasana position for the last time at the top of our mat, where we will be coming down to the floor. Big inhale, lift up. And exhale, forward fold. We're going to hold ourselves in this position, hinged at our hips, backs relatively straight. Arms can reach for the ground, or they can hold hands or elbows. At this point, let's shake the head no, releasing the neck. Nod the head yes. And then just hold it a little bit deeper for another moment. And then slowly come down on all fours and press back into child's pose. Nice release through hips and shoulders. Checking in with our breathing. Coming forward through tabletop, beyond into kneeling plank again with our last chaturanga, slow lower. Now back our hands up a little bit more, maybe towards the ribs as we lift up into a bigger cobra, if that's an option. Long neck, soft elbows, lifting out of our hips, extending down through the spine, opening up through the front of the chest. Pressing back into child's pose one last time. And from here, we'll incorporate a shoulder stretch, threading the needle, drawing that right arm underneath the left shoulder, trying to lay into that right ear. Notice what we're feeling as we stretch down that right arm up through the back of the right shoulder. Through the middle, taking the left arm under instead. Oh, so for me personally, I'm really feeling this left shoulder in this position. Breathe into that. Whenever we feel that sweet spot, I like to call it, where a lot of sensation is intensifying at once, really encourage that parasympathetic nervous system to operate primarily to avoid entering fight or flight or activating any stress hormone. Ease into it, and we'll slowly come out of that. Taking our time, working back up through table and sweeping those legs around. Now, as we sit comfortably, we're going to do a couple of stretches here from the seated position. So hopefully you're able to either cross your legs or have your legs out. If anyone ever needs extra lumbar support, having a yoga block or even just a small cushion or a rolled up towel and put it underneath your sits bones offers a little bit of extra support to sit up longer to avoid that hyperflexion. Just a quick tip and trick as we come into this next stretch. We'll bring our right ear down towards that right shoulder, and then we can press the left arm away. Now I encourage you to explore working through that neck. Maybe you need to just investigate the angle you need to hold your head or tuck your chin before finding, again, that sweet spot. Breathe into it. And then coming up through the middle. Take the left ear over now instead. And then we can push that right arm away if that helps. Maybe you need to explore, maybe you don't. Feel free to just close your eyes and breathe into the stretch. One final inhale. Exhale, releasing that. Go ahead and just rock your head forward, side to side. And then just roll the shoulders a couple of times in both directions. Stretching through next, our forearms. Taking the hands so that the palms are facing forward, fingers are down. And then as we take the fingers into the floor in front of us, we'll just try to spread the fingers out. That really helps if we can spread the fingers out as we try to drive the heel of the palm into the ground. Be mindful of your elbows. trying not to have those locks. And if ever it feels okay, play with the position of your thumb or your fingers as we're stretching through these forearms. These are our wrist flexors that we're targeting. I think anytime you're on a keyboard typing or on a mouse, or even writing with a pen, we're flexing these muscles, just opening them up. I'm going to slowly back off of that. And just for balance sake, we'll work the extensors now, turning the hands over, ring fingers side down. The back of the hand towards the ground again, being mindful of those elbows. We don't often take time to stretch through the wrists and hands, even though we use them all day. Giving a little attention, encouraging lots of blood flow to clean up these areas. And let's release that, and let's go ahead and just take a few wrist circles. Now at your own pace, at your own time, I'll invite you to come down onto the mat where we'll do one final stretch before our final relaxation. So as we take ourselves down onto the mat, just making sure you're comfortable. If you've got soft blankets, sweaters that you want to put back on, feel free to do so. And just take your time entering into this supine position. And we'll take ourselves into our spinal twist here in just a moment. If we'd like to get our legs down straight on the ground, we can bring our arms out to the side, making a T with our body. Inhale, lifting that right knee up about 90 degrees. Exhale, lowering the leg over to the left. Trying to keep both shoulders evenly on the mat as we look over that right arm. And I want you to pay attention to what you're experiencing down the right side of your body. Inhale, lifting the knee up. And exhale, relax the leg down. Repeating with the left knee coming up and lowering to the right side. And as we allow the leg to settle, the shoulders to melt into the floor, feel free to look over that left arm as we notice any sensation concentrating anywhere along that left side of body. Inhale, lifting the knee up and relax down. Assuming our final resting posture, I'll take a very, very enjoyable and relaxing supine Shavasana position with legs extended, hips turned out, toes have fallen out to the sides. Arms can rest down by our sides or hands on the belly. Let go of our abdominal muscles. Let go of any tension through neck, face, or shoulders. And we'll spend just the next couple of moments enjoying a slow breath. There's nothing to do, nowhere to be. And all we're required to think about right here, right now, is breathing in and out through the nose. Simply enjoying this final relaxation. On our next exhale, starting to wiggle our fingers and our toes, circling through wrists and ankles as we gently reawaken our body. Perhaps we draw our knees into the chest for a hug, whether we rock side to side or just take a couple of moments here, maybe fluttering the eyes open, becoming more comfortable with the lighting in our room. And we can gently push ourselves over through baby pose on our sides, up into seated position, assuming some version of lotus, crisscross, one foot perhaps on top. Preparing to say that final goodbye together. I'm hoping that everyone's feeling slightly more open, a little bit more relaxed, rejuvenated, re-energized for the rest of our day. With our last big inhale, bringing arms up above head to prayer. Exhaling down through heart center. Namaste. Thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I will look forward to seeing you again next Monday.